Hi everyone, it's Loki, and with all this nice little smoke and candlelight daggerness, we are doing something fun this October. I'm going through the history of some of the stuff that we use in our practices. Well, some of us, not all of us. And so I'm kickstarting this October off with history lessons. Yay! So, one of the most common things you will see or hear people using in witchcraft and such that and fortune reading is tarot. Ooh. So, without further ado, today's video is going to be on the history of the tarot cards. Are they really that ancient? Which is something I've been wondering myself. Because all forms of divination come from somewhere. And the runes obviously came from the Norse, so on and so forth. So I thought, where did most of the tarot stuff come from? So with this nice little smoky aroma, oh god, this stuff smells good, and these candles lit to make my atmosphere, gotta love it, we're going to dive into the history of tarot. Are they really that ancient today? According to tarot historian Tom Tiefenin Little, traditional playing cards were first seen in Europe in 1375. Those were the traditional, like 1, 2, 3, 4, jacks, spades, hearts kind of cards. Having brought them from Islamic society. Yes, it's Islamic. Yeah, that is Islamic. Websites tell me new things. And by the way, yes, I'm reading this from an article. I've done a few things looking into this as well. Where they had been used for centuries before then. These cards were not, however, tarot cards. They were just your normal, traditional playing cards for poker or whatnot. At this point, he said, there is no evidence to show that the tarot cards had been yet to be created. Which, that is a good point. You hadn't seen them at that time. I mean, hell, if you did, then holy crap. Which goes against many claims of the original playing cards evolving into the original tarot deck. Which is probably true. Granted, you can do a card reading or a tarot reading through playing cards. I personally will not. I don't like that, but that's just me. But other people do. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh no, you can't do that. No, that's your practice, your choice. Your monkey's your circus. It wasn't until 1440 that the cards were most likely, the cards that were most likely of the original tarot cards were first mentioned. Very good thing. In a letter to the Duke of Milan, again butchering names, I apologize. There was a request for several decks of triumphant cards, which were used on special occasions. Tropin, or I will post the word in my description, but I'm also going to post a link to this. The letter described triumphant cards for differentiated trumpet cards from regular playing cards. It does appear, however, that the first tarot deck was created as a game, which you'll see a lot of things that we do use have been used as a game before or were originally for that purpose. Were the 4 suits of cards numbered 1 through 10, and also court cards that included a queen, king, knight, and page. The decks also included 22 symbolistic picture cards that does not belong in any suit. The decks were used to play games of the game Triumph, which was similar to the game Bridge. The Trump, in Trump, 21 of the 22 cards or special pictures were primary trump cards. The game spiraled quickly as a part of Europe. Well, spread quickly all over parts of Europe. People began referring to tactiche, which is an Italian version of the French word tarot, around 1530. So originally, these cards that we've come to know and love as divination and finding things were originally made for a game, which is not hard to see, because you see similarities in tarot cards, such as the kings, queens, and so on, and they go up to 10. And instead of the page, the knight, they had the jack and the jack and the ace. Sorry, but you see that they're all in suits, plus the extra ones that are just a specific moon and all that. I can see them used as a game. They took on different meaning, obviously, however, for the magical community when they started using them to read fortunes, like some people still do with playing cards nowadays. In 1781, in France and England, followers of the occult discovered tarot cards. Or started using them, or had been using them, who knows. I mean, that is the first documented idea of it. They saw the symbols and pictures on the cards as having more meaning than just a simple trump card, which was used which they were used for at this time. They used the cards as divination tools, occultic works about the tarot. After this, the tarot became part of the occult practices, well, physiologically. So basically, that's when, about the time, it became normal for magic users and occultists and fortune tellers to start using these to tell fortunes, to tell divinations, to do those kinds of stuff. There are also those who believe that tarots originated in Egypt. In some circles, there are those they thought to be the solo surviving book of a great fire burned in the ancient library of Egypt. The Alexandria Library, I believe it was. In this theory, the cards are considered to be the hyperlogical word I cannot pronounce. A hypothetical key of life. And the article gives a few more links below for this, which is how ESP works, how firewalking works, hypnotism, a few other things, and ancient tarot categories, just different little links below it, and their sources. So, they actually have sources. And so these are from things that I've actually been to before. I'm not one to say, no, these have always existed. They've always been a part of our work. Not necessarily. You have to realize some of the stuff that we use are more modern than ancient. Granted, 1781 is a long time ago and can still be considered ancient. But you have to also keep in mind, not everything is mystical, magical, extremely old just because we want it to be. Things may date back to ancient Egypt. It may date back to the Library of Alexandria. It may not. It may just be some people want to make them into something that they're not. For me, I see them as great tools for divination, if you know how to work them correctly. I see them as something I do enjoy reading and doing. For me, tarot is not just a card game. I'm switching things around real quick. But it is something that I have used in my own practices. I have used as a bonus on Patreon. I have used in readings for others. And I'm not ashamed to say I sell my services of reading tarot for $5 a reading. $5 for 3 cards, $10 for 6. And one gives you like 3 readings. It's weird. Anyways, the thing is not everything that we use is ancient and known by sorceresses and sorcerers throughout the millennia. There are a few things that are. There are a few things that aren't. Tarot is kind of in one of those middle grounds because some say it's from an ancient card, from a card game that was played in Europe, and others say it's from the Egyptians in the Alexandrian library. Which, even so, it's all hypothetical because obviously we don't have much, if anything, existing from that library. But what we do have is the knowledge that we have today. What we do have is stuff that comes with the tarot and the tarot cards themselves. Like I said, I find them to be a great tool to use. Not everyone shares my sentiment. The reason I bring this subject up is because, well, I use tarot quite often. And even I have to admit, I probably thought at one point they were older than they were. Articles and researching has told me otherwise because, hey, look, we can't always have what we want, right? So sometimes we get information that some of us get mad about and say that there's no way that can be true. It was like this, it was like that, and people will disbelief and disallow the idea of something being something else. You will have practitioners claiming that it's this, no, it's that. But another side of tarot, which I'm actually pulling up 2 more things, and one of them is Wikipedia, go fucking figure. The tarot is first known as Torofen, or later known as Tarak, Tokonte, and Tarot. They are a pack of playing cards used from the mid-15th century for various parts of Europe to play a game, such as the Italian Chichaf, I cannot pronounce that word, French Tarot, and Austrians Kofla. Yeah, do not ask me to pronounce that word. Many of these card games are still played today, and at least in the last 18th century is beginning to be used for divination forms of for divination. So even though some people claim they were, hi dog, somebody outside. Even though some people claim that they were made in Egypt, there is no definitive proof. The history that I'm seeing on here is playing cards entered Europe in the late 14th century, most likely from Mechlon, Egypt. The suit of bronze or polo sticks, commonly known as the wands to those in the occult or divination tarot, coins, which is commonly known as pentacles, and cups and swords. So 2 of them didn't really change. The suits were similar to modern tarot divination decks that are still used in traditional Italian, Spanish, and Portugal playing of the card game, playing card decks. The first discovery of the tarot pack was between 1440 and 1450, and wow, So basically the same dates, but it has a little bit more people putting history behind it of what it was for. Looking at it, it's pretty much anywhere you go for this information says the same thing. That's why you'll find some tarot decks that have more Christian artistry to them. But it was originally for a card game, which is fine. I mean, some things evolve from one thing and become something different. Things are ever changing. But there is so much ideas behind it and so many people saying that it's older than this, it's older than that. Well, that's not what research is saying, unfortunately, for some of us pagans who want it to be older than it is. I'm not saying I want it to be, I just like to read the history of things. But with that being said, I'll link 3 of the places below. And I'd like to hear your thoughts about it and how old you originally thought they were. For me, I did think they were a little bit older than 1440, but hey, everyone can be wrong. But I'm glad this information was easy for me to find, and it's easy for anyone to find. You just type in the history of tarot in Google, and Google is your friend. With that, I'll say happy October, and look forward to the history of runes and the history of other things, including scry mirrors, crystal balls, and other divination tools, because why not? It's October. Let's dive into the history of those things. Pre-warning though, there will be one weekend where I will be completely out of touch. I may check my Discord, I may not. But with that being said, I hope everyone has a blessed week, and I will hopefully be back with another video or a live stream this weekend. Blessed be.